see us.
Yeah, next year, finally, after 13 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. I was at the last Soundwave show in Perth, which I think was the last one you played
Yeah,
while you were over.
2012. That's because I
Yeah,
remember that because that was actually Steve DiGiorgio's first show back in the group. So
yes, yeah,
I
it
remember
was.
that.
Yeah, yeah, it was a great day, and you'd been over a couple of years before that. I think was the time I saw you before that.
Yeah, there was a time when we got to come back there a little more often, but I think just the times and, festival kind of going away for a while and
hmm.
it just gets tougher to get there, you
It
know?
does, and it's a lot. It's a long trip as well.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of catching up to do then. In that case,
All right.
um, I absolutely loved the last couple of albums. Brotherhood of the Snake, really sort of like got me back listening to the band, and Titans of Creation, I think, was absolutely fantastic. So,
Thank
what
you.
what what have you got coming for us? Is there any chance of some new material?
It's done.
It's done.
We actually Eric's finishing up some tracks this week before we leave for Europe next weekend.
Yeah.
Once the tour's over in Europe, we'll come back and butt up the rest of the tracking that needs to get finished. And we'll start mixing it in January. That's the plan. So, sometime hopefully by the end of the first quarter, early second quarter, the record should be out there. And I think actually Australia might be the first stop that gets a taste of new material
That would be
because we'll
yeah,
be right in time with that release.
that would be absolutely fantastic. Always like to look back as well on albums of the past, and one of my favorites, and I know it's not everyone's favorite, was one that's got an anniversary this year, Souls of Black,
Yeah.
which probably has
Yeah.
my favorite Aerosmith cover ever on there.
Oh, yeah. And that was a pretty wild video we did of that song
Yeah,
back in the days. Yeah, and actually it's the interesting thing is we we started retaining the rights back to all our early Atlantic records. So we got the Legacy and the Order, and we just retained Practice What You Preach in August, and we'll get Souls of Black next year in October.
oh, cool.
So we'll be releasing Practice into this year, early next year, and then Souls of Black the following year. So those will be popping out. And the good thing is, at least I don't know about the timing of it, but whenever we do these things, we'll play those records and then their entirety, which would be fun to play all those practice songs or all the
Yeah,
Souls of Black songs on the whole record live again because it's fun. We just get to go through those at rehearsal or something. We're always in a rush to rehearse the songs for the tour and don't just like, hey, let's play this song for fun.
yeah.
It's always you have to learn what and be prepared when you're ready to go on tour with what we're going to play. So when we get those opportunities to play all the songs, it's so fun because we know it's enjoy it while we're doing it because we're not going to play some of these probably again for
Yeah.
maybe never. You never know.
Yeah, I know a lot of people will be hanging out to hear Practice all the way through, but I sort of like always had a soft spot, I think, for Souls of Black, even though it was a bit rushed. I think you had to get it out quite quick. And I think maybe the reason for that is it was the first Testament album I ever heard. So I know
Ah,
it was fall in love with like the first stuff you ever hear, but it was yeah, it was a great album for me, and I think lyrically, it's a great Testament album. That's always something I've learned about Testament as well.
and vocally, to me, I think I had a smoother tone on that record.
Mm.
Voice wise, but I would say I wouldn't say like rush. Yeah, maybe we could have spent more time in
Yeah,
that and worked it out more. But at that point in our careers and lives, we're making music and going to tour every year for four
yeah,
years.
yeah,
So that was what we knew. That was the norm. We just had to push it up a little quicker than expected. But that's just the way we worked. We had a lot of time on our hands and we're just making music, just getting out of our parents'
yeah,
houses, just all that stuff,
yeah. And I guess that's the way it used to be as well. There was that tour cycle. There's also the first with a new producer as well.
Yeah. Well, in Souls of Black, we used Michael Rosen and Vinny Wono, which actually were the engineers on Practice What You Preach with Alex Perialis. So those two came in on the next record themselves and did it.
Yeah, it was great sound, love it. Um, one question I've been asked, I always tell people who I'm going to be talking to, and people send in their questions, and there were a couple there that I thought I'd ask, because there were things I didn't know either. How did you get involved with Disney's What If?
Ah, that was awesome to do. Actually, the director was a Testament fan
Oh wow.
and wrote me and asked me if I'd be interested. I'm like, hell yeah, because I do some voiceover work too.
Yeah,
But this was going to be a whole different thing, and this was during COVID, so I was like, okay.
yeah,
And the whole experience was awesome, and he was actually in there, and since it was COVID, we couldn't all be in the same room, so all the directors and producers were all on screens in front
yeah,
of me, and I had this huge screen in front of me with the mic set up, and it was very cool. But the direction and way he did it was awesome because he'd go, okay, on this part here, you're in this fight scene flying through the sky, and I want to hear kind of like the Practice What You Preach, voice style here, and he'd explain the style of voice I'd sing on a song.
yeah.
And so I had that in mind going into it. It was fun to do, you know. I'm definitely down for doing it. Hopefully they do a second season of it.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually loved it. I mean, that when I got asked that question, I actually went to check it out. It's really cool. I really enjoy it. I love the Marvel stuff, though. I must admit, I was always a big Marvel fan back in the day.
yeah, and it was a cool concept. What if, so and so fights so and so? What if it was a cool thing.
Yeah, take us all the way back. I love finding out like what got people involved in music in the first place. When did you first know that this was going to be serious? You were going to be a serious musician.
Well, I always told my friends from the get-go once, after I seen Kiss and wanted to be Gene Simmons and that kind of, I don't know, it was just like over the top big thing for me as a kid seeing that. And just kind of, playing guitar at an early age. My brother's older brother played guitar and younger brother played. And so it was a lot of music going on.
Yeah.
And, and I was a guitar player as well. And then my younger brother's band needed a singer. And so they wanted me to sing. So that's kind of kicked me dropping the guitar and picking up the mic, you know.
So, like a lot of musicians, you started off playing something else. I guess lots of vocalists I know were actually drummers to start off with, and you were out there playing the guitar. What were you listening to at the time? Was it that classic San Francisco scene that drew you in, or you mentioned
Um,
it's there?
when I when I was younger, I mean, of course, because I was older than the other guys in the band, I was brought up with the Kiss and the UFO, Thin Lizzy, early Scorpions with Uli Roth, a lot of that kind of stuff. Frank Marino.
No, wow.
That's kind of the stuff I was kind of like started coming up with, and then, uh, of course, Sabbath to me was heavy back then, but then when you started hitting and developing and seeing bands coming out of the Bay Area like Metallica or Exodus and them playing this real aggressive stuff, and then once Metallica came back to the Bay and just was playing all over, it just spread it, and everybody just was inspired by something doing fresh, and didn't realize we were living, a little bit of history at that point.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? The like thrash, I guess, has become one of the like most endearing and enduring sort of forms of metal out there. There's still kids going out there and playing that style of music and still loving it. And we're of course lucky enough to have bands like yourself and Metallica are over here next year as well. And it's all still going. It's all still vital and still exciting when you listen to something like Titans of Creation. I think this is never going to die because it's still relevant. It's still aggressive. It's still It's got so much life to it.
but we're always still trying to find the next
Yeah,
level, or we need to make it better, or how do you write a better song than the last one? I mean, that's always the challenge we always face from starting from The Gathering, like, oh, that was such a great
yeah,
record. And so how are we going to beat that? And then next, we put out Formation. And it's like, wow, that record came really good. How are we going to beat that one?
yeah,
Then the next one, Dark Roots, we're like, wow, okay. And then we're just kind of, I realized as we had like Alex and all the final reunion, just having a chance coming out of my illness with cancer,
yeah,
that the the opportunity in the band outlook was a total different way of looking at the business and the band. I looked at it as I was kind of blessed to get a chance to come back and still play music because I thought I was done after my illness. And it was more of a blessing that we got to do that. And I think at that point we wrote for ourselves. We didn't really like think, okay, what's the critics going to think, or everybody, or who's going to, we weren't worried about that. So I think that's what made all the records we started making after that all unique in themselves. It's not like we try to take one formula and just write all these songs after another to be testament. Eric's always pushing and fighting and doing different things, and all the records have their own identities. And I think that's great. And it's still challenging as a band, been around 38 years, that's just the way we work, and we try to stay testament but be inspired by what's going on around us today in the current music. Um, but we always want to be testament. We've been here doing it this way this long. And
yeah.
we're
And
just
I think,
go out doing it the same way as well.
and I think that that's what makes it exciting for a fan to listen is the fact that you can still hear that hunger, and there is, yeah, like you say, there's no formula, there's no. I guess there are some bands out there that um, are rehashing the same stuff all the time, but I've never found that to be the case with you guys. It Yeah, a new album's always something special for me.
Well, this one's going to be very special. I think I'm more excited about this one just because of the fact, like, the timing of everything. I'm a big person believer in things happen for reasons. And Chris Dovis jamming with us and having a lot of times to come up and spend with Eric at Eric's place, just jamming, coming up with a lot of music and working on it hard and tracking it at home and doing demos. And I can tell when I first started getting the songs and the riff sent that it was something different. It's still Eric and I recognize it, but he was he was being pushed and inspired because Chris is a very fast, aggressive drummer.
Yeah.
And I can tell that, you know, it just inspired Eric just to be Eric and play guitar instead of trying to think about building a song or making a song, just jam. And that's the kind of way they approached it. And next thing you know, they had, 10, 11, 12 jams that were sounding pretty strong, but individually identified, just different vibes.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is what it is. And then as it just built vocally and everything, that's when we were kind of, wow, it just feels fresh and new and challenging again. Vocally for me, I got a wide range of tones on this one, from screaming again, which I haven't done that a lot of records in the past, but a lot on this one.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just again, and we are still writing for ourselves, but we're still excited that when we write a song, how it hits live. And that's always been the payoff is, does these songs we write in the studio hit live like we want them to? And that's the fun part. And you guys will be the first to get hit by them.
Yeah. Absolutely can't wait. It's how do you keep the voice in shape? One of the things that always intrigues me, especially like with guys that play that heavier style of music, where there is more wear and tear, I guess, on the voice. Is there a secret?
No, but I would kind of identify it as if you went to the gym every day and didn't, and worked out. I think over time you'd probably build up some strength and muscle memory and stuff like that. Same with vocals. I've been doing it so long, and I have a warm-up tape that I use every time I'm going to sing. I warm up for about 90 minutes, and I
Wow.
don't sing like hard and full voice. I do this warm up tape real soft and easy just to loosen my voice up. And that seems to me, I don't know if it's a psychological thing that if I don't do that, I'm not ready to sing. I need to warm myself up. So I think that, and then also after shows, I don't talk much. I'm not been much of a talker anyhow, but after a show, I'm pretty quiet. Try to get my rest. Always try to stay away from people when I'm ill. And it gets me so far. And the biggest thing I think I have to say is I quit smoking weed before I go on tour.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's really helped my voice and strength of it. And yeah, I mean, I think I'm just more mentally focused on I don't want to go out there after 30 something years and suck, you know. So it's like I have to go to the vocal gym to make sure I stay in shape.
yeah. I mean, there's few singers out there who sound as good as they did back in the day, but I mean, I'd put you in that basket of people who actually do. There's something different about the voice. I don't know whether it's a depth or but it like the range is still there. Everything's still there.
Well, it's different. Like if you listen to my early '80s
Mm.
records, my voice is really pinched, like
Yeah,
singing
yeah,
real pinched. And then as I became more of a singer and worked at it, it started opening up more, as you can tell through the records from the New Order to Practice. Then I started opening up a little more, and then the Souls of Black, of course, opening up a little more. And then over time, I found out how to develop and to use it all. Just try to do a little bit of everything.
yeah. It's worked out really well. Every time we speak to someone for the first time, there's a couple of questions we always ask, and one day there'll be a book. I'm not sure when it will come out, but we've been doing this for 15 years now, so we've got a good few answers.
Nice.
The first one is if you could have been a fly on the wall for the creation of an album, any from anywhere in the history of rock and roll, what would you love to have actually seen being made, just to see how the magic happened there in the studio?
I would probably say the first one that would come to mind right away would be AC/DC Back in Black.
Yeah,
Because coming out of, the Bon Scott thing, going into a new singer, how that whole thing happened, turned it around quick, and just next thing you know, that record to me has a lot of for me because I graduated that year in high school,
yeah,
and that it just it even to this day that record's just is a great record, sound wise and songwriting wise.
yeah. It's funny because my favorite two AC/DC have got to be Highway to Hell and Back in Black, which sort of like came after each other. It's the best of both worlds. So I think,
But I'd love to see that, just the transition from Bond to him, and then seeing the reactions just in the recording of it, because it just came out to be a masterpiece. That they were just like the reaction of, wow, Bond was awesome and great. How can you
yeah,
top that? You know what
yeah.
I mean?
It's one of the few times it's worked, I think, so well.
I think, yeah. I mean, first one comes to mind. I just see the faces and people reaction once you're just like, wow, that to me, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it's still very partisan where we are, though. We're from Perth in the west, so uh, Bon Scott lived in Fremantle for so much of his life. It's where he's been laid to rest, and I think we've got more AC/DC cover bands here than anywhere else in the world, probably.
Oh, I'm sure.
Half of them stick to the old Bon Scott and nothing else, and the other half play a bit of Brian as well. So it's quite interesting. And we'll leave you with an easy one before I ask you for one final request. It's easy question. What is the meaning of life?
Um, the meaning of life. I mean, that's tough. I mean, I'd probably have my opinions probably changed over the times and the way my life and the world's turning. But overall, being secure with your family, and feel kind of grounded in that sense, I guess. As I learned growing older through life now, I've been married 37 years, I've been and very lucky to have someone like that in your life and be with you this whole time. going through life. I think, that's probably the thing. It's always, I think it's probably always been, having
Yeah,
that partner to go through life together with.
yeah, that's a great answer. Wonderful. We're 15 years old this year. You are our 4,002nd interview. So
Wow.
thank you very much for spending some time with us. We just love it. We're just putting clips together for the end of the year. We just people wishing the Rock Pit a happy 15th birthday. If you wouldn't mind, that would be wonderful.
Rock Pit. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Rock Pit, happy 15th anniversary. Keep thrashing.
Thank you so much for your time, Chuck. It's been wonderful to speak to you. I'm absolutely gutted that we couldn't see each other because of the problems with the video. That's the last time I buy a new HP webcam to use.
All right. Well, when I meet you in person, you won't look like the dark black shade of black like you're looking like right now.
Yeah, I'll come and see you and say hi. Take care, my friend.
All right, Mark. Have a good one.
Playtime till you come over. Bye.